All right, guys, we got Internet Girl Friday. What's going on Internet Girl Friday?
Oh, a whole lot of things. Good stuff. Good stuff. Hanging out here in Florida.
Florida, that's a great place to be hanging out. I'm actually, you live pretty close to where I used to live.
Oh, really?
You're Fort Lauderdale, right?
No, I'm up at the top of the state in the Jacksonville area, which we jokingly call South Georgia. We have a lot of Georgia influence here in Jacksonville, so it's at the top corner.
I don't know why I thought you were from Fort Lauderdale. I apologize about that.
No worries.
Not too many Internet girls down in Florida that I know. So I seriously appreciate you coming on today to share some of your marketing prowess. I know you've got 20 years plus experience being on the online management side of things, speaking all around the country. You got help. Also, a lot of people live the laptop lifestyle, which is kind of in itself. And there's a lot of people out there wondering, what is a laptop lifestyle? How can I live it? How can I, get rich and retire young, right? I mean,
exactly.
Who doesn't want some of that, right?
Who doesn't want some of that? Yeah.
Give me a round of that. So
exactly.
where did you get the name Internet Girl Friday? I was just curious.
The name came from, well, I guess I should tell the story of, it's a little, I don't want to say long, but a little bit involved. I, like a lot of entrepreneurs, had good times and bad times, a lot more struggles than wins in the early years. And while I was in the middle of, actually I was working online, but I was in a different industry. I was providing drawings for kitchen designers and interior designers because my degree was in architectural drafting. So as soon as I came out of college with that degree, the natural progression would be to go work for an architect or an engineer, which I did for less than a year, but it just felt like jail to me, working for someone else. And not only that, but making someone else money, making them richer. So I quickly went out on my own and opened a company called designerdrafting.com and did that for about 4 or 5 years, but I got really bored. And because I got bored and wasn't passionate, I didn't take on as much business as I could have. And so I needed to actually go get a job in the interim of figuring out this whole journey. So I was schlepping to New York City from New Jersey where I was living, and I was looking for a job, my actual job. I was doing it 8-10 hours a day, and nothing was panning out, which was really weird for me because I'm a Jane of all trades, and I used to work in restaurants and sell cars, and I had a lot of skills, but nothing was panning out. And I was working with a recruiter, and it was like the 11th hour of me finding a job. I had to find a job. I was at the point where I had $250 left in my bank account, and rent was due, and rent was $550 as a roommate deal.
And when was this exactly?
This was about, how many years ago was it? At least 10 years ago. Mm-hmm. Somewhere between the 10 to 15 mark. And I was getting so anxious, and I thought, well, I'm doing what, we all hear as entrepreneurs we should do from our friends and family, right? They say, go get a real job, give up this nonsense of entrepreneurialism. And so I was listening to them at this point, and I was thinking, well, they have cars and houses and health insurance, and they have all these things that I don't have, and I've been struggling, and maybe I should just give up my silly dreams and go get a job. And so I was really trying to do that and be a grown-up. And I got home from this job on a Friday afternoon, and the recruiter called me, or an interview, kind of a test. I worked in this lighting designer's office for a day or two, and she called me and said, I have great news. You got the job, and you're going to start on Monday. And I thought, oh, thank God, I can pay rent in 2 weeks, and I can eat again and put gas in the car. So just as quickly as she called and said that, and I was literally on the Port Authority bus coming out of the tunnel and riding up Route 3 to get off at my exit and, my drop-off spot and walk home and celebrate this Friday evening. 5 minutes later, she called me and said, I am so sorry to tell you this, because she knew I was struggling. And she said, the guy actually just called me back and said he's made a mistake. And I thought, what are you talking about? He loved me. I loved him. It's a wrap. And she said, he just realized it's August and he has to move his offices in December. And for that reason, he needs to stop. He can't take on the payroll until January because he has to stop taking orders so that he actually has time over Christmas to move the whole office. And I thought, oh my God, what is going on? And I hung up with her, and I felt despair like I've never felt in my life. I felt like I was literally on my knees on the highway. Tears were streaming down my eyes. And I thought, what else am I supposed to do? I've tried everything that I thought was the right thing to do. And this sounds a little weird because I don't really hear voices in my head, but I heard something say, don't worry about it. You're about to be okay. You don't know what this means, but go home and try something. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I get the hairs stand up on my skin every time I remember this feeling. And I went home and I sat in front of my computer, one of those old CRT monitors, the big ones with the keyboard. And I thought, okay, I'm living in a $500,000 townhouse next to 500 other $500,000 townhouses. I can see the New York skyline. There is money all around me. I just have to figure out how to bring it into my reality. And I sat down at the computer and created a clip art, 8.5 by 11 Word doc, black and white, that said, hey, busy neighbor, I live in beautiful Nutley, New Jersey, in Cambridge Heights, the name of the development, and I own a successful internet business, and I don't have family, and I don't have kids, and I have a lot of free time, and I would love to help you out. And I actually went and delivered it to the office so that they could send it out in their flyer, and it came out within a couple days, and I made $1,000 within the first week cash on some odd painting jobs or designing someone's bonus room into a bar or something. And I said, okay, I've got something here. I'm going to turn this into a website. What should I call it? And I said, there's not much I can't do already. I'm going to call it something to do with Girl Friday. But Girl Friday is a term from the 50s, and maybe all these rich CEOs that are in their 50s and 60s would know about. Let's call it Internet Girl Friday and give it a little bit of an update. And that's how the name was born.
Mm-hmm. So
I know that was a little long-winded, but
it was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, first of all, for just being so open and honest with what really happened. You know, a lot of people like to sugarcoat things.
Right.
And I just call bullshit when they do that. Because as entrepreneurs, it's not a straight up roller coaster, right? I mean, that's why they call it a roller coaster, because it's got the ups and the downs that kind of go along with it.
It's not for the faint of heart.
It's not. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. So if you've got a faint heart, stay in your job, right? Let's just be honest.
Stay in your job and take a portion of your paycheck and pay someone like myself or anyone else, a virtual assistant, to actually start your business and run it for you. Absolutely.
Yeah. And was that at that point in time, and you're just, I mean, you had to be like shell shocked though.
I was literally, you know, I'm not a big churchy person. I'm more spiritual. I believe in the law of attraction. I believed in it at that point so strongly. I was doing everything I should, but I literally could feel my soul on its knees. I felt despair, and I'm a very independent, resilient person that people have labeled me as a survivor. I bounce back. And at that point, I literally felt like it was the end of my energy, the end of my trying. I really felt like, what more can I do? And I was crying. Tears were streaming down my eyes as I'm crossing the highway to get back to my house. And when I heard that, to me, and this has happened twice in my life now, which the second time was during an accident that you and I talked about. But when I heard that, I thought, I know exactly what this means. This means I am not meant to be an employee. I am not meant to do anything other than be an entrepreneur and do what I want to do, build the businesses I want to build, bring the gifts to, you know, other people to help them. So it was numbing. It was scary. It was all of those things that people go through when they face knowing they don't have money in the bank account to pay their bills and are thinking they might be homeless. Yeah.
I know exactly what that feels like, and I've been there myself. And, you know, I definitely have such a respect and appreciation for what you've been through. And then just to listen to that intuition, that little voice in your head, when everybody else is probably telling you crazy.
Yeah.
You're crazy, right? You know?
Yeah, totally crazy. Why don't you want a beach house? And why don't you want 401k and all the things that we have.
Yeah. And just to face I like to say, my good friend of mine calls it the wolf at the door, to face the wolf at the door and keep him away. So how did you spin that, and how were you able to even pay the rent that month?
Well, I literally created that flyer, and another interesting part of the story that just proves it was meant to be is that I created the flyer and called the office and said, don't we have a newsletter that goes out in the neighborhood? And they said, yes, actually, there's one that's coming out very soon, and the deadline is tomorrow. And I thought, another moment that's another piece that's falling into place here. I thought, okay, I can do this. I walked to Kinko's so that I wouldn't use gas money. I walked to Kinko's and had this flyer printed. They said they needed 600 copies. I walked to the lady's house with the 600 copies, who was stuffing the newsletters on her dining room table. She said, oh, I need $100 for that. So I had spent $37 of my $250 at Kinko's. I spent $100 to have it put into the newsletter. And she said, oh, I can't take cash. I need a check. And I was so broke at that point that I didn't even put my money in the bank because I knew someone could freeze it. Someone could grab it. That's how, and I know people that are possibly listening to this have gone through that. We've, especially entrepreneurs, we've been in that situation. And I made up some excuse like, oh, I ran out of checks. They're on order. I forget what I said. And she said, okay, I'll do it this time. And she took the $100 bill, and I literally sat out my window and watched like through the blinds for when the people that hang these bags with the newsletter on them on the garage door, those little handles on the garage door. I waited. I was like, when are they coming? When are they coming? And they started hanging them, and I just held my breath. I just prayed and held my breath. And the phone rang, and one person said, can you help me paint my dining room for $500 cash? Yes, I can, which luckily I could. I grew up on a construction site with my family. So I had a lot of skills that I dusted off and utilized. And then someone else said, can you do a CAD drawing for my builder to turn my bonus room into a bar, an entertainment room? Yes, I can. And then someone else called me and said, I own a networking company locally in town. You should come. You can probably pick up some customers. And that's when I turned it into the website. So I knew I needed emergency money in the first 7 days, and I got that doing odd jobs. And then I knew I needed a 30-day plan, which was the website and the networking. And then I needed a 90-day plan to stay focused and keep these leads coming in.
Straight baller right there.
Never did anything illegal. I can say that. I have hustled. I have worked 3 jobs. I have catered my butt off in New Jersey at 2 a.m, putting up tents and doing weddings and bat mitzvahs and bar mitzvahs. I've done it all. I've done what I had to do. Yeah. Absolutely.
We could say Hustler Girl Friday, but that might give it a different connotation.
That might give it a different connotation. Even with Internet Girl Friday, people say, that sounds like a porn site. And I always joke. Remember those old corner peels, page peels that we used to have in internet marketing? Well, yeah. I always joke that I was going to put a champagne room up in the corner.
Nice. There you go.
See if I got any leads.
Wow. Congratulations, by the way. Thank you for that. How have you transformed that now into the business that you do like every day? I know you're hanging out by the pool half the time now at this point, and you've been able to transfer that over. I mean, because it hasn't been all peaches and gravy since then. I know you had some near-death experiences that's kind of almost how we met in a way.
Yeah. I had, after that, it was pretty decent as far as making money went, but I still hadn't achieved the goals that I wanted to. I never broke the 7-figure mark. I never built my empire the way I was doing it for other people. So I had my, $50,000 to $100,000 years going pretty consistently. And that was fine to live on. And for a lot of people, that's perfect. But I had bigger goals and bigger dreams. And like you said, in 2013, I had a near-death accident. I jumped on the back of a new friend's motorcycle. He was a 30-year rider, and I was living in Florida. Everybody has a bike down here. It seems like it's a law. They hand them out when you cross the line. Mm-hmm. And, I single girl. met a guy that's got a motorcycle, and he said, we had to run an errand somewhere about an hour away, and he said, let's take the bike. And I said, I really don't like bikes. Let's take the truck. And long story short, I got on the bike, and 30 minutes later, road debris had sliced open our back tire going down Highway 95 at 70 miles per hour, and we were splattered on the highway, and I got to ride in an ambulance and a helicopter to the trauma center. And so immediately I lost everything again. I lost my business. I lost my ability to work. I lost my ability to stand. I was medicated. And it changed me big time. It changed me from the independent, successful, bounce back, resilient person, confident that I was, to a very dependent, needy, not confident person that was emotionally traumatized. I have PTSD still, but I had it very strong for about 9 months. It really wreaked havoc on me. When I got in a car, I would cry if someone tapped the brakes, if I saw brake lights, if I saw road debris. It really messed me up. And so it took 2.5 years, looking back, for me to come out of that change, that bounce back from being a lesser version of myself to the strong person that I am now. And that happened only about a year and a half, less than a year and a half ago, about 15 months ago. So I had to start all over. I had to lean on past experiences, past good experiences and bad experiences. And those lessons helped me come through this tornado of trouble I was having much better. And it actually taught me something. So I had to start over again last year. I was literally on food stamps and, doing what I had to do to stay above water. And luckily in under a year, I made a 6-figure business again. And now I do have all my plans to break the 7-figure mark, and we're working towards that pretty quickly. So, it was hard, but I used those past experiences to realize that if I had come through something once or 10 times, that means I can do it again. And I can use the lesson was, if I go inside myself and really challenge myself and find my inner brilliance, I can do this. I can do anything. I can find my way out of a problem by challenging myself, going through the fears, being afraid. Yeah, we're all afraid of something or 10 things, and I had to go through them to get to the other side.
Congratulations coming to the other side.
Thank you.
What were the lessons that you learned from, you said and there's no failure in life. Again, there's only feedback, and the feedback you got from running your business the way you ran it before the accident to how you run your business now. What are some of the biggest lessons you took away where you've been able to automate, I'm assuming, a lot of what you do because you learned that the hard way?
Sure. I knew that that 2.5 years was a blessing in disguise. It gave me a lot of time to think and reflect and gain that hindsight that a lot of people don't have the time to have. And so I realized that I had made a few mistakes that I was going to fix. The mistakes were that I didn't launch what I was launching for customers. For example, for customers, I was setting up their email marketing. I was setting up their tribes, their social media tribes. I was setting up their Infusionsoft platforms with funnels and campaigns. And I had all the skills, and I was doing it for clients, and I wasn't doing it for myself, what we now call the Gempire. And so that was lesson number one that I was going to correct, was launch it for Jennifer, because Jennifer deserves to have this. Jennifer knows how to have this. Jennifer wants to have this. And that's why I entered the entrepreneurial world, is to do what I wanted to do. So start building things, start launching things, and that's in progress, and it's great, very exciting to get up and work on a new launch. And also to work with the right people. You can't run an internet marketing agency by yourself. Some people can because they niche. I only do copy. Someone says, I only do copywriting. Okay, then you might only need one virtual assistant, and you might be able to do all the copywriting yourself and have your 5, 10, 15 clients, and you're good. but for what I wanted to build, a lot of courses, an agency, an apprentice program, a mentorship. There was a lot of moving parts. I realized I can't do it alone. I can't sit down and do billing at night and exhaust myself and then do something else and then put on another hat. And I would be spread too thin. So surround myself with amazing people, either people that have already done what I want to do and follow their model, or just people that can help me build my empire. And in exchange, I can help them grow their brand as well. We can grow together. And then volunteering, giving back right away, has really been a blessing. I didn't know. You always hear that when you give, you get, which you should never give to get. But I really didn't fully understand that when I started volunteering at the local veteran shelter here in Jacksonville, how much was really going to come back to me from the universe, karma, whatever you want to call it. That's been a huge blessing as well. So those three things, the right people, actually taking action, and giving to someone who could, wake up and say, who can I help today? That was how I did things differently.
That was the reason I reached out to you, honestly, because I forget how I came across your website, but it's one of those funnels you have out there. And so I was looking at your website and talked about how you help veterans, and I was like, oh, she must be a veteran. I get that implied almost when people a lot of times are donating their time or working with veterans. Right. And I think you and I talked last week, and I'm like, you're not a veteran? And it was just kind of, huh? And I know you've talked with veterans I've put you in touch with, it, like Chris Albert out in California, and he was super happy to talk to you. He said to me, he's like, I can't afford to hire this lady. She's like a rock star, And
but I offered help for free. I always offer help. I say, I can't give you all my time, but I'll give you some of it.
I was like, Chris, don't worry about it. I was like, you can get on there and get some of your questions answered and stuff like that. And sent me a message back. He's like, man, she was really great and she's really helpful. And I'm like, dude, that's what she said, man. So it's not just doing stuff right there in Jacksonville, but I know you've done work even outside of that. So I just wanted to say thank you for that. I have a lot of veterans that watch this, and a lot of business owners and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, it's my honor, and people mistake me for a veteran as well, and I say I wasn't lucky enough to serve, but this is how I give back.
Yeah, and the thing around the post-traumatic stress is I think it's important to realize that there's a lot of people that have post-traumatic stress who are in this country, whether it's from 9/11, whether it's a car accident. You could be a firefighter, you could be a police officer, or maybe you just had your car flipped, or maybe you were on the back of a motorcycle.
Right.
So it's interesting, to hear your perspective on that side of it, because that's one of those things. A lot of guys have problems getting work. That a lot of times in this country, guys are going to get work, and they're like, oh, they're a veteran coming out of the military. They automatically associate with them having PTSD, and they're like, oh, well, you have that, so we're kind of scared to hire you.
Yeah, as if they're just gonna go crazy.
Tell you that to your face, but so that's one of those things that appreciate you kind of being open about sharing that. Guys, PTSD is not just a military thing.
No, it's trauma. I mean, it could be trauma from being bullied in elementary school. It can be a trauma from, unfortunately, someone being raped or molested. It can be a myriad of things. It's different for everybody. And it doesn't mean that you are now less capable or, more mentally unstable. It doesn't have to mean that at all. I'm sure in some cases it does. But in my case, it just means I'm a little more cautious about things that might be frightening to me, like jumping out of a plane, or it doesn't. No, that's pretty change normal. My abilities.
That's pretty normal. Jump out of a plane. There's a lot of people who are nervous.
Yeah. I mean, I know for veterans that it can be very. It does change. It does change them. I mean, I have friends that they're not going to work in an office. They're not going to be around that many people. They're not going to be in a cubicle. They need to be close to the exit. So for everyone, it's different. And it's unfortunate that there's a stigma attached to it.
So tell us about how it is that you're able to help people stay at home like yourself and create businesses, whether it's they're working full time and they want to get out of working in that cubicle, or they're just an entrepreneur right now and they'd be looking to get your services, and how you go about helping people.
Sure. Well, first, what's important to me is to explain the internet to people, right? Because there's so much out there. There's social media. I mean, in social media, there's so much. There's YouTube and Instagram and Periscope and this and that, and things that people haven't even heard of. So I want to make sure that if people are going to enter this world, that they have an understanding of the big picture and where to start. That's really important for me to share that so that people don't make the same mistakes. They're not down to $250 in their bank account when rent is due. So what I always try and tell people is, or explain to people, paint a picture. Okay, here's how I want you to look at the internet. You have to build your tribe, your audience first. There's, some people argue that, oh, you don't have to. My point is, you have to build a foundation that you then send all your traffic to. You have to have somewhere where people can opt in to either the header in your website, an email opt-in on a landing page, a webinar registration. There has to be something for someone to consume when you've driven them to that area. So all of these other activities that we do on the internet, we're on social media, we're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, all those things that we do drive traffic back to that foundation. So to simplify it, you build a landing page first. You build something where people can go get something of yours, an ebook, a freebie, a webinar, something, and they give you their email address in exchange. Now you can go do all that other stuff that can overwhelm you. Now you can go do Reddit advertising. You can go do Instagram Live, because everything you do on the web after that foundation is built means that there's a call to action. Oh, you just made a YouTube video? In the description box, click this link and go over here to my foundation that I just built. You've got Instagram Live going. Hey guys, go to bit.ly// whatever and grab this thing on the foundation that you've built. So if that helps someone understand that, don't do any of that stuff that you keep hearing about. Don't go down those rabbit holes. Don't chase shiny objects. Don't do anything until you have at least one foundation built, sales funnel in our world, with some email marketing behind it, with your tracking codes, your Facebook, your Google Analytics. Then go do all that other stuff that is kind of fun and but can also be overwhelming. So it's really important for me to explain that to people so that they don't just start somewhere without having a plan, a strategy, and a foundation.
Mm-hmm. One thing, guys, not 50, right?
One thing, start with one. You can
super successful entrepreneurs, and they come and talk to me like, oh, this thing and that thing and this thing. I'm like, whoa. I was like, and who's doing everything? I was like, not you.
Very few people are able to, look at Russell Brunson. He can do a lot of things because, what does he have, 100 employees? He's got a lot of people helping him launch stuff.
With the quick side of things, but even Russell knows his limitations and what he's going to focus on. I got a chance to spend some time with Russell and just see how his office is laid out and how he runs things. He knows what he's good at and he stays focused in that area. And that's what really good entrepreneurs do. Yep. I just spent a couple of days with Frank Curran, and the guy is phenomenal at what he does. And he stayed focused on, he's like, one thing. He's like, yeah, guys, I can do all these other things. I was like, but I'm just going to stay focused on this one thing and make $500,000 a month. Right. It's like, that's okay for me. Right. And he'll do that every month because it's just growing from there.
I see so many entrepreneurs making this mistake because, yes, we have more than one idea, obviously, but you have to do one thing first before you can do things 2 through 10. And doing one thing first will give you the money to do the next thing. So it's so hard to rein that back in. It's so hard to say, well, what do you mean one thing? I want to have an agency and we want to have 5 million services. That's not one thing. Doing Facebook ads for chiropractors in LA is one thing, or selling one course on one topic to one audience, that's one thing. You have to get very specific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, that's very important. There's actually a book called The One Thing. We're not advertising, but but it is The One Thing. It's a great book. So what's the best ways for somebody to get a hold of you, Jennifer, if they want to talk to you further about what you do and how you help you with their business?
The easiest way is to go to my website, which is internetgirlfriday.com. On the contact page, or even in the footer of every page, there's a phone number, there's social media links, and on the contact page, there's actually a scheduler. So you can just click a button and pick a time that works on your calendar, just to even meet me. If you just want to say, hey, Jen, I'd love to take you up on that 30-minute free consultation and just to get to know you, or I'm a veteran, I'd love to be steered in the right direction, I'm happy to do that. If the time is available on my calendar, then grab it. Other than that, you're welcome to get me on Skype, which is jgoodwin.skype.
Awesome. Well, Jennifer, I appreciate you opening that up to everybody. Any veterans out there, I highly suggest taking advantage of opportunity to meet with you, and also just sharing your story and being open and honest today. And
Sure.
Jennifer, I wish you all the best success.
Thank you. You too.